If you've ever felt like your body's betrayed you, like pleasure is something reserved for other people or something you're always getting wrong, this little corner of podcast land is for you. I'm your radical, rageful mama bear here to defend your right to feel good in your body. Welcome to season 2 of The Nature of Pleasure. This season, we're talking all about relationships and what it's like to love inside systems and family patterns that were never built for the kind of intimacy we're trying to have now. Because here's the truth. Pleasure isn't a side dish, it's not fluff, it's not a luxury, it's your body's way of saying, I'm alive, I belong, and I have power. Welcome to The Nature of Pleasure. I'm Nicole Siegel, certified sexological body worker and creator of the Body Compass Method. And this is where we unravel the quiet codes of your body, the hidden intelligence beneath desire, and the organic rhythm of your erotic nature. Okay, today we are talking about the 5 biggest signs you are dating or married to an immature man. And before you click away because you're like, Nicole, I'm not here for man bashing. Yeah, same. This is not a hate episode. This is not a women are evolved and men are trash episode. And this is definitely not one of those episodes where I tell you to just communicate your needs like you haven't spent the last 7 years communicating your needs in 12 different months. If you're listening to this, there's a good chance you're already doing one of two things. Either you're quietly assuming this is somehow your fault, that you're too sensitive, too demanding, too dissatisfied, too hard to please, that if you could just regulate better, communicate cleaner, be less impacted, want less, need less, this relationship would finally feel okay. Or you're in the opposite place. You are pissed. You're oscillating between I should just try harder and I should just leave, between self-improvement podcasts and breakup TikToks, between compassion and a kind of low-grade rage that lives in your chest and has nowhere to go. And what's brutal is that neither of those places actually tells the truth because the thing you're experiencing isn't a personal failing. And it's not necessarily a sign that the relationship is doomed either. It's something much harder to name. It's that on a relational level, the man you're with hasn't fully grown up. Not in the way Instagram uses that phrase anyway. Not in a man-child meme way, and not in a way that makes you feel morally superior, in a developmental way. And when women sense this, especially intuitive, embodied, emotionally intelligent women, the first response is almost never, oh, he's immature. This first response is usually, what am I doing wrong? So you look at yourself, you track your tone, you analyze your delivery, you wonder if you're asking for too much, you wonder if this is just what long-term relationships feel like, so common. You wonder if desire is supposed to die and you're being unrealistic. And then when that doesn't work, the pendulum usually swings to the other side. You start fantasizing about being alone or being with someone else or blowing it all up just so you can finally exhale. And no one really talks about this middle place, the place where you don't want to abandon yourself, but you also don't want to abandon the relationship. The place where you're not confused about love, you're confused about capacity, because here's the quiet truth. You can love a man deeply and still be living in a relationship that is being held together by your nervous system alone. And once your body clocks that, once it realizes you're the one stabilizing, anticipating, buffering, and smoothing, something fundamental usually shifts right then. Because desire cannot survive on long-term over-functioning. And this is where the word immature starts to really matter as a way of naming what's actually happening underneath the self-blame and the breakup fantasies. Relational immaturity isn't about whether he's successful, kind, loyal, or well-intentioned. It's about what happens when there's tension. Can he stay present when you're impacted? Can he metabolize discomfort without collapsing or defending or making it about you? Can he take responsibility without needing you to manage the emotional terrain first? If not, what happens is subtle, but inignorable. You become strategic. You start preparing conversations ahead of time. You soften your voice before you speak. You time your needs around his capacity. You watch his face for the moment it's about to go sideways. And on paper, nothing looks wrong. You're just exhausted. And not busy, tired, not life is a lot tired. way deeper tired, the kind where your jaw is clenched before coffee, your belly tightens when you hear his keys in the door, your chest braces when you think about asking for help because you can already feel how it's going to go. When your nervous system realizes that you are the stabilizer in the relationship, desire doesn't slowly fade, it protects itself. Because eroticism cannot thrive where one partner is doing the relational holding for two. And this is where the word immature really becomes clear, not as an insult or a diagnosis or blame, but as a way for you to understand what's happening underneath the surface of your relationship so you can stop blaming yourself or fantasizing about escape. I'm going to walk you through the 5 signs you may be dating or married to an immature man, not so you can just label him and be done with it, but so you can understand what your body already knows and why talking harder, with more effort, longer conversations has not worked. So, sign number 1 is that his nervous system becomes your job. The first sign you're in a relationship with an immature man is that is not something that you realize cognitively, it's something that your body notices first. Before you even realize it, your nervous system starts tracking him and has more attention on him than yourself. You rehearse what you're going to say before you say it. You soften your tone automatically. You add disclaimers. You preempt his defensiveness before it has a chance to appear. You find yourself saying things like, I'm not mad, I just want to talk, or this isn't a big deal, even when it is a big deal. And the wild thing is, you don't experience this as control, you experience it usually as care. You tell yourself you're being thoughtful, that you're being emotionally intelligent, that you're choosing your battles, but what's actually happening is more subtle than that. Your nervous system has clocked that he can't stay regulated when there's tension, so it steps in to manage the field. Just instinctively, because somewhere along the line, your body learned if I don't hold this steady, everything wobbles. And maybe he doesn't yell or explode, maybe he's not aggressive at all, maybe he just shuts down or gets quiet or gets wounded, or turns it back on you in a way that leaves you suddenly explaining yourself instead of being heard. So you adjust, you become the one who keeps things smooth, you monitor the emotional weather, you track what's too much too soon too direct. Over time, that creates a very specific internal posture. You're on all the time. Your body never fully rests inside the relationship. And the truth is that this is not emotional attunement between equals. This is regulation without reciprocity. In a mature relationship, both nervous systems are participating in the holding. Both people can feel discomfort without collapsing. Both people can stay present when something is off. Both people can repair without one person doing all the emotional lifting. But in an immature dynamic, the labor quietly shifts. One person becomes a stabilizer, the other becomes the variable. And once your body takes on that role, desire doesn't just fade, it reorganizes because eroticism requires mutual capacity. It requires that you can relax your vigilance, that you don't have to manage the emotional aftermath of your own truth, that your body isn't bracing while your mouth is speaking. You can't want someone you are regulating. And if you're listening to this and you're thinking, but he's sensitive, or he just feels things deeply, or he had a lot of emotional neglect growing up. Yes, that may all be true, but sensitivity without regulation doesn't create intimacy. It creates caretaking. And caretaking might keep the relationship intact, but it slowly evacuates you from your erotic center. So if you've been wondering why your desire has changed, why your body tightens instead of opening, this is one of the places to look. Not at what you're doing wrong, but at how much your body has quietly taken on. And this brings us to the second sign, because when one nervous system can't hold tension, something else always happens next. Sign number 2 that you are dating or married to an immature man is that he has feelings but no relational range. So what this looks like is he has feelings, he can be hurt, he can be stressed, he can be overwhelmed, he might even cry. So you tell yourself, at least he's emotionally available. You compare him to men who are shut down and dismissive, cold, and you think you should be grateful, and yet something isn't landing. Because what's missing isn't emotion, it's range. Relational maturity isn't about whether someone can feel, it's about whether they can stay present while feeling. And this is where the pattern shows up. When you bring something real, not dramatic, not attacking, just real, he doesn't meet you there. He gets defensive or he collapses into shame. or he turns the conversation toward how hard things are for him, or he shuts down and disappears, and suddenly, instead of being held, you're holding. Instead of being met, you're managing impact. You find yourself backing away from your own experience to tend to his reaction. You start saying things like, I didn't mean it that way, or I'm not saying you're a bad person, or I know you're trying. And again, this doesn't feel like immaturity at first, it feels like empathy, but here's the distinction. Empathy is the ability to feel with someone. Relational maturity is the ability to be impacted without making it unsafe for the other person to exist. An immature nervous system experiences your truth as a threat, not because you're attacking, but because he doesn't have the internal capacity to hold tension without it turning into self-protection. So your disappointment becomes his wound, your longing becomes his failure, your request becomes evidence that he's not enough, and that's an impossible position for you to live inside. Because over time, you learn that telling the truth comes at a cost. You stop sharing the full texture of your experience. You give the headline, not the details. You bring things up later than you should. You wait until it's already built up because at least then it feels worth it. And in your body, you stop reaching because your system has learned that reaching doesn't land and desire cannot survive in a field where your aliveness has nowhere to go. This is the heartbeat of being with an emotionally expressive man who lacks relational maturity. You're close enough to see the potential, but not safe enough to relax into it. Which brings us to the third sign, because when someone can't stay present with impact, responsibility starts doing something strange. Sign number 3 is that responsibility lives in his head, not his body. The third sign you're with an immature man is that responsibility exists, but only in theory. He understands you, he agrees with you, he can even articulate what you're saying, sometimes better than you can. He says things like, you're right, I get it, this makes sense, I didn't realize it was affecting you that much. And for a moment you feel relief, but then nothing actually changes. The same patterns repeat, the same dynamics reappear, the same emotional labor quietly slides back onto you. And this is where women start questioning their sanity, because it's not that he's dismissing you, he's not saying no, he's not refusing responsibility even, he's just not embodying it. Relational maturity isn't about understanding something once, it's about what your body does without being reminded. Mature responsibility includes anticipation and follow-through, and noticing what needs attention without being directed. Immaturity, on the other hand, keeps responsibility conceptual. So you become the one who remembers, the one who tracks, the one who notices when something's slipping, the one who circles back gently again, and you hate that part because you don't want to nag. You don't want to remind, you don't want to feel like a project manager in your own relationship, but if you stop holding it, it drops. So you keep holding it, and slowly very specific resentment forms. And that can sound like, why do I care more than he does? Or why do I have to explain this again? Why am I the only one tracking what matters? In a mature relationship, responsibility moves toward the one who's been impacted. In an immature one, responsibility stays external. It requires prompts, it requires reminders, it requires emotional cues. And that's why this drains desire so efficiently. Because eroticism requires that you can relax into being responded to and not managed. Which leads directly to the fourth sign, because when responsibility doesn't fully land, you start seeing something else instead. You start seeing how young he actually is in these moments. Let me tell you what I mean. So sign 4 is that you can see his younger self and it changes how you relate to him. This is that moment where something shifts in his face, his eyes go a little blank or a little tight, his shoulders drop, he turns away, he goes quiet, and suddenly you're not looking at the man that you chose anymore. You're looking at a much younger version of him, a boy who learned early that conflict wasn't safe, a boy who didn't get met, a boy who had to guard himself, harden, withdraw, or perform. And when you see that, something happens in you. Your heart opens, your tone softens, your anger evaporates, because you're not trying to win anymore, you're trying not to hurt him. And I want to be really clear here, this capacity to see his younger self is not a flaw. It's empathy, it's attunement, it's part of what makes you deeply relational. But this is where the danger lives, because when you are regularly relating to the younger version of your partner, the relational field quietly shifts. You stop expecting him to meet you. and you start protecting him from impact, and you take on the role of the adult in the room. You edit, you hold back, you translate, you carry things alone. And here's the paradox no one warns us about. Seeing his inner child can open your compassion, but living in relationship with his inner child will slowly exhaust your erotic self. Because eroticism requires two adults meeting. It requires presence and agency and capacity. And when this pattern goes on long enough, something else starts to happen. Your growth begins to outpace the relationship, which brings us to the last sign. Sign number 5 is that you are growing and the relationship is being asked to grow too. The 5th sign, you're with an immature man, is often the one that feels the most disorienting, not because something is wrong, but because something is moving and you don't full or much control at all over it. You're changing, not in a dramatic blow up your life way, or maybe it is dramatic blow up your life way, but it's not because you're chasing novelty or escape. It's because you're becoming more honest with yourself. You're naming needs sooner, you're catching self abandonment faster, you're more aware of your body, your yes, your no, your limits, your longing. This isn't rebellion towards a relationship. This is integrating your fuller self into that relationship. When this kind of growth happens inside of a relationship, it does something very specific. It puts pressure on the structure of the relationship. It's being asked to hold more truth because now your connection isn't just about love or loyalty. It's being asked to hold more truth. And sometimes instead of deepening right away, the relationship does something else first. It studies, it hesitates, and then it gets wobbly. Not because growth is wrong, but because growth exposes where capacity hasn't caught up yet. Your clarity introduces more information, new information. Your aliveness changes the rhythm. Your honesty asks for a response. And if his nervous system doesn't yet know how to meet that, it can register as destabilizing. Not as rejection exactly, but as unfamiliar terrain. So the relationship unconsciously organizes around what feels safest, oftentimes through caution. You might notice yourself slowing down how fast you share, choosing the easier moment instead of the truer one, waiting for a better time that never quite comes. This isn't you shrinking, it's you sensing a mismatch between where you are and what the relationship can currently metabolize. And this is the nuance that matters. You're not outgrowing him. You're outgrowing the way the relationship has been structured. Because relationships don't evolve just through love alone. That's a total lie that we're sold by the media. They evolve through shared capacity. When one partner is expanding emotional, somatic, relational range, and the other hasn't been supported to do that yet, the relationship doesn't fail, it just reaches a threshold. And that threshold can feel like a subtle loneliness even when you're together. And this is the moment where a lot of women panic. They turn inward, they blame themselves, or they swing outward and consider leaving, or they numb the part of themselves that's waking up. But here's what I want to really slow down. This moment is not a verdict. It's an invitation to ask a different question than should I stay or should I go? The real question is, can the relationship itself be supported to grow up? Not through more talking, not through more patience from you, not through you carrying more awareness for both of you, but through intentional, embodied, partnered rewiring. The kind that helps both nervous systems expand instead of one compensating for the other. Because relational maturity isn't a personality trait, it's a learned capacity. And when it's supported deliberately, structurally, relationships don't just survive growth, they deepen because of it. Which brings us to the most important thing I want you to hear in this episode. It is possible for a relationship to grow up without you having to shrink or manage or disappear. And that's what we're going to talk about next. I have been working on a journey for couples that are exactly in this place for months now, and I am very excited to officially announce it on this podcast. If you listen to the first episode of this season, you will have already heard me mention the program Reset Your Erotic Rhythm. It's something I am incredibly excited about, and if you've been following me along season 1 and you've made it all the way to the end of this episode, keep listening. There is so much here for you. Reset Your Erotic Rhythm is not couples therapy or communication coaching. We're not doing things you're going to see in standard relationship advice. This is a relational reset where you stop being the stabilizer and your nervous system finally gets to come out of management mode. You release the invisible labor you've been carrying, and he learns containment, not through lectures or shame. This is not a man-hating program. He learns basic relational skills you have been desperate for him to internalize through guided embodied practices that teach his system how to stay present with impact without collapsing, defending, or outsourcing regulation. And the relationship gets a real rhythm again. This program is 8 weeks long. It's live. We start February 23rd, and there are 3 tracks. In the first 2, you two are learning separately. The women get to meet for 4 to 5 weeks. The men get to meet with me for 4 to 5 weeks, and you get to really set down all of the weight that you've been carrying for your relationship. I take over the teacher role and the regulator role so that you do not have to carry that anymore. In the third track, we come together again and you are showing up with your partner, and your relationship gets to truly update with all of the metamorphoses that it has been through in the first 4 to 5 weeks of the program. It's a really unique program because most of the self-help industry preys on this unequal division of emotional labor in heterosexual relationships where the woman is carrying the bulk of the emotional load. And so programs are typically made for high EQ women to try to catalyze relational change in their partnerships on their own. And that is not sustainable, and it's not even creating the paradigm that you are so desperately longing for. Reset Your Erotic Rhythm is really different because we have 2 separate learning tracks, one for the men, one for the women, and the third one where we come back together. And it is sprinkled with these relational truths that we should have all inherited from day one, that generations past simply did not have a chance to embody in their love before. Because if you're listening to this episode and you're thinking, oh my God, this is us, then you're not at the beginning of awareness just in your relationship. You're at the edge of a paradigm shift that's on a societal. You already know you can't keep carrying this. You don't want to mother your partner anymore. You don't want to leave just to feel alive again. And you don't want to repeat this pattern in your next relationship. And you don't want to follow in the footsteps of your mother and your grandmother and your great-grandmother and all the generations past, because they weren't allowed to embody the completely alive, inspiring, and egalitarian partnerships that we're all capable of now. You want to feel met, you want to feel responded to, you want to relax inside your partnership, you want desire to feel spacious instead of effortful. You want your relationship to feel inspiring to your growth and for it to actually be an incubator for your expansion. Reset Your Erotic Rhythm is the exact container for that. You can find all of the details in the show notes. I am super, super excited about it. I hope to see you inside. Love this podcast? Tell the internet. Leave a 5-star review and make the machines work for our pleasure for once.